Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Akashic channel of the Records of Politics. Now, I'm very excited to share this channel with you. Not only because what came through me was an absolute mind-blowing channel transmission concept. So I cannot wait to share it with you. Also, it is very incredible because I really feel if we listen even a little bit to what is possible for us as humanity, that what this channel is very much going into, what is possible based on politics and in general, what is possible for us. It's absolutely incredible to know this, to hear this. And even if we just move a fraction more into this reality, it would be amazing. So before I go in, because maybe this video will be watched by a more wider public than I normally have, I want to quickly touch upon what are the Akashic records. What is this energy that runs through me? The Akashic records is actually a concept that is already being named a couple thousand years before Christ. In the ancient holy books of India, the Akashic records are already mentioned. That means that thousands of years ago, they already knew that these existed. But what is it? Akasha means in their language ether or blue sky. And in Hindi language, Akash is still the word for sky or blue sky. It is, in a way, an unseen field of information. And the Akashic records are a specific part of that unseen field where all information is stored on our universe. Now, I became a practitioner and a couple years after that, a teacher of this. So I could take people on a journey so they could access this field for themselves and they could gather information from this field. It's absolutely incredible. The information is so beautiful and it gives such a bird's eye view because it's in a completely different dimension than this. So they can look upon your life way less emotional, way less dramatic, but also with a big bird's eye view of how everything is interconnected with each other and why you have certain problems the way you're having them, or why there are certain patterns looping in your life when you have them. Now, that is when you open your personal Akashic records, which is in a way your personal book of life. But everything is recorded in the universe. So also you have Akashic records of your country, you have Akashic records on love, on time, on purpose, on power, on Africa. You have Akashic records on literally everything. I open in this channel and in this video the Akashic records of politics. And you will hear that politics is not only recording the politics of this earth, but it actually is politics in general, all across the universe. And they will touch upon a couple of topics that will be really great for humanity. Now, they will introduce that in this channel themselves, so I will not go any further into it. I want to get you into this channel. Now, I invite you to take a big deep breath in. And when you listen to this, be open, take what resonates. And if something do not resonate, or if your critical mind comes up, let that also happen. Observe that. Maybe some parts of this is triggering, some parts of this are amazing. See how your emotional field is responding to the Akashic records and what they are saying here. And next to that, this is a transmission that not only is being received through words, but also through unseen frequencies. So you might feel all of a sudden very thirsty and you need a drink, or you might fall asleep in the middle of it. And that means that your body was able to absorb the information the best way, while the conscious mind would take a nap, so the subconscious could receive it more fully. Whatever happens during this channel, maybe you even also receive information, right? Maybe you even receive extra information that was not part of my words, but maybe you're also already an open person. Maybe you're also naturally tuned to the unseen as well as the seen. And maybe you will, while you're listening to this, receive extra information. Everything is possible. This is a full spectrum transmission. And I'm very grateful to be sharing this with you. So, without any further ado, here is my transmission of the Akashic Records of Politics. Enjoy. Dear beautiful beings, thank you so much for listening to this transmission. Thank you so much for being here. We are the Akashic Records of Politics. Not just the Akashic Records of Politics on your planet. No, the Akashic Records of all politics in your physical universe. This means that we have records and data, information, as you wish to call it, on all star systems and intergalactical federations and how they have based their politics. We have been requested by this channel to give you a transmission on the current status of your politics and how you can best transition to a harmonious system, so that the system in place is truly the best for the country, for the people inside of the country, and for shall we say, intercontinental and intergalactical connections and collaborations. It is important to know that your current time space in your current reality has quite a lot of tension around politics that seem to every year grow more extreme. There is a reason for that extremity, and there is a reason why this gets louder and louder. There's also a reason why more and more people start to not resonate anymore with some of the political games that are being played, and they have the feeling they need to choose between a not ideal option and another not ideal option. This is not only true for your recent election of the USA politics, but this is true in many countries. This is true in many countries in Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, and its surrounding islands, and of course also the Americas, North and South. We see this pattern is happening on all levels. Now, it makes sense that when people need to choose between two not ideal options, some people start to question if the political system is still serving them in ways that seems to work. Next to that, an interesting dynamic we see on your planet is that some companies that are powered by the capitalist system become more powerful than countries in its way of making decisions about people. This is interesting. This is a very interesting dynamic you find yourself in. And so we understand tensions are high. We understand that it's not easy for a lot of people to choose. It's not easy to handle the emotions that might be present when certain election outcomes are being received. Even the navigation of the chaotic energy before it starts to establish into a new regulation is interesting. There's a lot of fear, a lot of tension, a lot of anticipation, but truly, most of the fear that is being present in every election is based on hot air and based on assumptions that are not based in reality. If you look at the previous elections in your own country, and also taking into consideration the country that is being watched by the world stage, the USA, if you notice how much fear is present and how much fear of that was truly justified by the following years of that government, you see that most fear was placed on non-reality, based on hot air, based on assumptions being made by news, being made by the media, being made by people that had strong opinions, not based and grounded in true reality. So just look at your elections 8 years ago, how much tension and fear was being present, and how much of that tension and fear was truly justified afterwards in the following years. You can do that the same thing with 4 years ago. You might see that the country was way better off than most minds were thinking. That is because countries are not only run by people. Countries are run by teamwork, by collectives. Countries are run also by discussions. And this is not only a third dimensional game. For example, there is always inspiration, changing of minds, opening of hearts that can happen in any level, in any organization, including your governments. So, we first want to soften the blow in case you feel at this moment heightened emotion or heightened chaos, heightened fear, heightened anticipation and anxiety. We want you to take a couple of big deep breaths and invite you to allow yourself to let these emotions calm down a little bit, to know that most of it is not based in true reality, and so you can calm down. You will be fine. Humanity will be fine. The planet will be fine, especially when you start to breathe a little bit deeper and center yourself a little bit more in the calmness of your body instead of the chaos of your mind. Now, in this transmission, we want to start with portraying a picture of what your politics are based on. And then we want to bring in a couple of examples of how politics are run in other galaxies, in other star systems, especially pointing out the galaxies and star systems that truly create a set of high satisfaction and happiness for the beings living there. And by bringing this galactic perspective into the field of your awareness, we want to end and close with a couple of practical suggestions that can really serve your planet if your intention is to create harmonious humanity and a planet that is based on values closely related with the vibrations of what you may call the divine or God. Because it is possible. It is not a utopia that is possible, because utopia will always be a little bit out of reach. Darkness plays an important role on your planet, not to be completely discarded into all happiness and roses. But a true harmony is possible and can be established. A true heaven on earth, if you might call it, in relative terms, compared to how you are living now, is very much possible. Politics that are serving both parties, both thought streams, politics that serve a whole of society and the health of nature on your planet is very much possible. And there is an incredible percentage of beings on your planet that want this, that crave this vibration into your governments. So let's start. Let's start with how we see your politics now compared to many other systems on your universe. How we see politics now is, in most countries, there's always a division being present. You may call it left or right, you may call it Republic or Democrat, you may call it different names, different wings. You may call it socialist and liberal. You may call it so many different names, but it's always somehow a division of two parties. And these parties bring certain values to the table. Now, we want to ask you, where is this division also present in your reality? Where is this division also present in your reality? You might have guessed it. This division is also being present in your own brains. And it makes sense, because humanity will always create what is a reflection of their own being, of their own systems. For example, first you had eyes and vision, and then you created technology that reflected the technology that was already inside of you. And so the eyes became a camera. The voice became speakers. And so forth. Your neural networks in your brain is maybe becoming AI right now. And so forth. Your visual imagination might be very reflective of generative AI. The cloud may be very much a reflection of your connection with the Akashic records and your connection with collective consciousness. And so a lot of realizations and manifestations of humanity are actually reflections of your inner being externalized. The same thing goes in your political system. The current consciousness of your planet finds it a good idea to base your political system on the division of your two brain parts, the left brain and the right brain. The more logical, more structured brain, and the more creative, flowing, all-inclusive right brain. This is a beautiful reflection, and it has served you for quite a while. Among great philosophers, these systems came to play. And of course, it's a lot more complex than we are painting the picture now. But we want to say and project this reality to give you a big picture of what your current system is look like. When it comes to left brain and right brain consciousness, there is a certain division being played. And this division is also being played inside each one of you. Shall I more listen to reason and logic, or shall I more listen to my intuitive gut feeling? Shall I go with my brain or with my gut? Shall I go with what is looking best on paper, or what feels most true inside my heart? Feeling and thinking, reason and intuition. These things are always in discussion of an untrained mind. These things seem to oppose each other when you are not applying the right perspective. And so, in your own mind, inner discussions are being played out on a lot of topics. Which job to choose? Shall I go for a job that makes good money, but is only a little bit moderate or insufficient when it comes to satisfaction? Or shall I go with a job that greatly satisfied my heart but no at all any security of money? This can be a great battle between your left and right brain. The same goes with finding a partner. The same goes with choosing what to eat. There are so many topics. This division can be played out on every aspect of your reality. And so, you created a system among your journey and evolution that is reflecting this dynamic. You couldn't do otherwise at the time. It was the best you could come up with as a humanity. And we understand completely why this system is in place. It is a reflection of your left and your right brain discussing with each other. This is beautiful to know that this is indeed a realization. The thing is, your consciousness kept on expanding, and your collective started to realize there is just more than the left and right brain. Your system is bigger than just your brain. Your science starts to realize you have thinking neurons everywhere in your body. Your system and your science is realizing that all glands in your body have intelligence, that your nervous system has intelligence, that your heart has incredible, powerful neuron cells in the middle of it, and that when the heart is focused upon, creates great magnetism. You will literally increase your magnetism while focusing on the heart. And so, as your collective and your science start to prove and realize that you are way more than your left and your right brain, what starts happening is that the systems that you are creating will also be a reflection of a more whole you. Your whole being and your understanding of wholeness starts to also create systems that create wholeness. Now, the more you align with wholeness, the more you will align with what in your previous centuries have been called holiness. Holiness and wholeness are quite similar. Holiness seems to be something outside of you, but wholeness is the inclusion of everything inside of you. And what if both are actually synonyms of each other? The inside starts to create the outside. Wholeness inside creates holiness for all outside. Now, your current systems are based on this division. And so there's always political parties with different values. Why is that? Is that really the most efficient system that you now can come up with? Or is this a system that comes from a consciousness that believed that the brain was the only thing that truly ran the whole system? And now, as you have evolved quite a bit in your understanding, don't you think there is better things that you can create and come up with that come from this better understanding of your own being, and therefore create a more whole and holy solution to these kind of problems? Why is there still discussion when your sciences are already being greatly proving what is right for humanity? For example, stress. Let's talk about stress. You have proven in great amounts with thousands of research papers by now that stress is not good for your body, for your being, for your mind. It creates burnout, it creates depression, it creates heart failure, it creates cancer. Stress in long, chronic amounts of time is not good for you. Quick moments of stress might grow you, but long periods of stress is never good for the system. The system needs to be stressed quickly and then have moments of great release to integrate these moments of stress. Look at your current political system. Look at the politicians themselves and look at the discussions that are going on in each country. Are they creating stress or releasing you from stress? The science has caught up and knows for a fact that when you start to release stress, it will be best for everyone involved. When you start to create stress, it will only create more disease. Now, why isn't there already a solution for a type of discussion and a type of agreement based on the release of stress instead of the creation of stress? This is a good question. And this is not only philosophical, this is a very practical topic. And so we can continue with a lot of other topics that your science has already been proven to be true, that can be reflected in your politics. But we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because we will come with more practical solutions later in this transmission. We wanted to show you at this moment that your political systems right now are reflecting part of your being, but not the most efficient state of your being. We wanted to reflect to you at this moment that the discussing mind is, yes, a part of you, but it is not the way you work most efficiently. And science has proven that by now. We especially want to point out the great work of the quantum scientists on your planet, the epigenetic scientists, the neuroscientists, and also the HeartMath Institute in particular and its associated partners. Because this groundbreaking science is here proving again and again that your system is not functioning on a discussing mind and on a stressful situation. Your mind has different brainwave modes. Your nervous system has different modes. Your heart has different modes. And there is a certain way the system as a whole works way more in your favor than most humans realize at this moment in time. And so, know that your current solutions are based on old understandings, and your new solutions might come up from a new understanding. And we highly recommend to look what your current sciences, not the sciences of 50 years ago, not the sciences of 200 years ago, the sciences of right now, from 2020 and later, what they are saying about the mind, about the heart, about the nervous system, and what is best for every human being. Because even though you are maybe widely different in interests, widely different in opinions, you are greatly diverse, and that's a good thing. You also have a system that unfortunately didn't come with a user manual, but your science is revealing the user manual and what works best for you. When you start to understand what works best for you, you can create a political system that works best for everybody. Now we will go in more practical matters later. We want to show you a couple of examples of how different galaxies and star systems are basing their politics, just to open your mind a little bit and to take a little bit of distance from your current system. So, there are many different ways and many different societies. There are societies completely based on mind, and there are societies completely based on feeling. There are societies that have already completely processed the consciousness of war, and there are societies that use war as a tool to find the best solution. Without any judgment here, we want to focus on the societies where their beings are most grateful and happy to be living on these planets, and where the planet as an organism is thriving the highest, creates the highest amount of resources and the most healthy food and nourishment and climate for its beings to live on. When we look at the political systems in these areas, what we are seeing is that these systems are never based on the mind, at least never based on the right and the left side of the mind. These systems are based on more interesting powers that come to play. Almost all systems where the beings are absolutely grateful and happy to be alive are coming from heart consciousness, which is the middle of each being. Heart consciousness can still express in many ways, so that's why we want to give you a couple of examples. The first system that we want to take you on is a system from a star cluster just a couple of light years away. It's a 5-dimensional society, and this society is completely run by heart energy. Now, how have they structured heart energy? How have they made a political system out of heart energy? First of all, they have asked themselves, what is the purpose, the true purpose of politics, and why needs it to exist anyway? Now, this question created a couple of really great topics to focus on. It needs to be focused on the well-being of its inhabitants. It needs to be focused on the well-being of the atmosphere. Let's call it atmosphere, or maybe call it field of reality. You might also call it planet, or earth, or in general just the environment. So well-being of the inhabitants, well-being of the environment that facilitates and inhabits these inhabitants. And then there is another part that talks about the connections between different regions, between different ways of communication and energy transfer. So, when they discovered that purpose, We're only three things: well-being of inhabitants, well-being of the environment, well-being of the connections between these parts and different regions. They started to ask in each of these things, what do we know to be true about how to create these things? What came out of it? When centered in the heart, there was only one answer being present. There was not a discussion of what would be best. One assumption that they made is that they accepted all diversity. People can be as diverse as they need to be. People can express that diversity as best as possible. People will be educated about how to express that diversity, not be suppressed in any way. And so, these regulations came in form where, for example, educational systems and different systems came into play so that the government knew that they were taking great care of their inhabitants by not suppressing any form of diversity. Great, this is a very hard-day solution. When it came to the environment, it was a lot of research, forms of physics, geology, understanding of climates, understanding of the different elements being present on their planets and the elements of the stars and the moons, the different cycles that were being present were greatly researched. Out of that research comes a growing understanding of how to live with these cycles. And instead of creating man-made cycles and creating things from a mind that thinks knows best, they started to base all of their research on what they found, what they observed, not what they thought about certain things, what they observed, what they could measure about the cycles, the climate, the materials. They started to even create experiments where they would see what makes the earth grow, their resources, what makes its planet happy, what makes nature thrive, what creates biodiversity. They started to greatly observe the natural systems and how these natural systems work together with each other. And so, knowing that when a natural system is at its healthiest, it produces the most high quality resources present, they started to focus on making the most natural cycles and systems and base their complete lifestyle on these cycles and systems. Also, they started to calculate how much they could take from the system to ensure its health, so that nothing was been taken too much, so the next cycle wouldn't have enough resources, but also that nothing would overflow and become in excess. Because excess is not good, and also under, we can call it, we don't want to use the word lack, but maybe a lack of stock or an under a too low amount of resources for your planet. And we apologize, the vocabulary of this channel is not in full effect right now, so we assume that you understand which word we are pointing at. This, in both cases, would not be the healthiest of the system. Excess and also a lack of it would not be the healthiest of the system. So they started to calculate and measure what can we take to make sure we can produce these great amounts of high quality resources from the system. giving back and taking in equal amounts, creating reciprocal systems. Now, the third quality they are using in their politics is the form of connection. And for that, they started to study greatly the different forms in culture, the different ways their different regions are thinking, the different qualities they are good at, the different qualities that they can learn from other regions. And they started to make a map of what were the qualities of different cultures and regions and their resources and what they could learn. And in this map, they started to also map, okay, if these are the pros and these are the minuses of different regions, how can they perfectly collaborate with each other? And they started to educate, and they started to create people for roles that would be purely assigned on facilitating the communication between these regions, so that a form of resource management, energy management, and wisdom or information management would be present in all different forms. Now, a politics that creates only these three things is greatly based in the heart. It is simplistic. It's not over-exaggerated. It doesn't deal with anything else than just this. Its inhabitants and the well-being of it, its environment and the well-being of it, and its connections and the well-being of it. Great. This is one example. We want to give you another example that is a little bit more based on the mind, that incorporates heart and mind, and still has a basis in a common acceptance of diversity. The second example that we're going to use is a little bit farther away. It is one of the stars in your Andromeda cluster, as you call it, that has greatly found peace about 3 to 4 eons ago in your time-space. And when they started to establish peace, a new political system was greatly aligned, and they started to get contacted for galactical federation work. And so they were inclined to start working on this in great detail. Now, what is very much present in this system is that they found out that it's a third dimensional, and their beings span from 3, 4, 5, and 6 dimensions in their being and understanding and light body. They started to understand that the mind definitely has a couple of qualities and has a certain division. They also started to understand that they also had a heart, a nervous system, and different kinds of senses. They also started to understand that their minds were greatly diverse in their ability, and their beings would be almost a unique frequency on a big piano spectrum of frequencies spanning multiple octaves of wisdom and information. This understanding was present in their planet, and so they wanted to create a political system that would greatly honor this. So what they were doing is that every region, they don't have countries in that sense, but they have regions. That every region would have a group of people that would be the best persons of their region when it came to their mental diversity. Because some minds are great in organization, some minds are great in creation and art, some minds are great in execution, some minds are great in innovation, some minds are great in the feeling of things, and some minds are great into other forms of reality. Now, instead of creating parties based on mental ideologies, a couple of competitions would put into place where, based on a voting system, these different qualities would be voted on. And so every person could display in their field what they were best at. So, for example, in the skill of technology, there would be a lot of people that would display their technological skills. In the system of empathy, a lot of people would display their skills and empathy. In the system of organization, a lot of people would display organization. In the skill of the knowledge of beings, in the skill of science, in the skill of well-being, in the skill of psychology, etc., etc. People would display their skills. And through these competitions, different select group of individuals would be voted on. Then the person with the highest votes would be the leader of this division and could choose in their group of other competitors who wanted to be the team. So the leader and the winner of the science competition would be able from the participants to select who they want to work with. And this selection was based on the chemistry they had between each other, so they would become a great team to honor and to be a representation of the science division. And so this would happen with all the other things. Now, what was happening as well is these formations would not happen in one go all at once. No, these elections would happen based on the cycles of the planet, based on the horoscopes and the celestial alignment they knew at. And just like on your planet, where you are now accepting an astrological system with 12 different signs, every sign would represent one of these political divisions. One for technology, one for science, one for love, one for well-being, one for family, one for the understanding of the mind, etc., etc., etc. And when such an astrological composition would be present, an election would be made based on that system. And so every cycle had their own election at their own select time. And so the composition of the government would change based on a collaboration of constantly different parts of each other. So not a full system would be replaced again and again, but new collaborations and new energy dynamics would constantly be present, making it very fun and playful for the politicians to find new ways of collaboration. When a new leader and a new team was selected, then that team would be integrated in a loving way into the political system and see the whole system would be very open what this new team would bring to the table, what fresh input might evolve and evaluate this whole government system, and therefore the decisions being made for its beings that it was governing to. And so this division would refresh again and again in different parts of the system. Now, this is very much based on how your cells in your body are constantly dying and renewing. Every organ and every part of your body has a different refresh cycle. And this political system is partly based on that fact, of that every part of the system was refreshing at a different rate based on a constellation, constantly creating new dynamics and bringing new evolution to the table. This is another system, very different than the first example that we gave, that works very well, not only for the beings where it governs from, but also from the people that form the government. Very different. And each of these governments, regional governments, had also a division that was part and responsible for the connection between the others. And yes, there would also be a planetary government that formed in the same way and was like a little bit of a hierarchical system on top of a regional system. Just like your nervous system is being formed, so this hierarchical structure was being formed very naturally, based on nature, that would be kind of a central division governing and infusing the different regional systems. There was a voting system being in place that every region could make part of, and this voting system was great fun. It was almost a natural and social thing for the different cultures to elect different things when these things were also present in their astrological understanding. Great other example that can be found in your galaxy. Now we can go on, and we can also give you examples of political systems that do not work at all and place a whole planet in absolute terror. We do not want to cover these vibrations, but know that also these forms exist in your galaxy. All vibrations imaginable are really consisting in your universe or in parallel universes. And so we can literally cover a lot of different intelligences and a lot of different political systems. But the intention of this transmission is to make your system a little bit more harmonious. Now, we gave you a couple of examples of other political systems. You do not have to apply any of these systems. To overhaul such a system into one of the examples, your current system would go through many trials and tribulation until it finds a new balance. We do not believe you need these trials and tribulations now. What we want to come up with right now is more practical solutions. What we see creates a lot of disharmony on your planet is this left and right wing solution. This left and right wing solution is a reflection of your left and right brain discussion. But as you start to see in more developed beings that focus on unity, beings that focus on meditation, like monks, it's not that they completely obliterate the left and right brain waves. They will still be present, but they will be greatly connected with each other. They will collaborate with each other. And a being that truly knows themselves, knows the power of their left brain and knows the power of their right brain, and unifies them in a way they do not constantly discuss and negate each other, but they actually both give input to the true evolution of that being. So they use their left brain for certain tasks and input, they use their right brain for certain tasks and input, and they use their heart brain for certain tasks and input. The combination of these intelligences creates the next step in such beings, with the main leader of it, the center of their system, their heart. Your humanity over the last millennium has greatly focused on the mind and the development of the mind. And it has given a lot of gifts on your planet. You have created great levels of science. great levels of technology, great levels of understanding, which is beautiful. And as we see it now, you are moving from an age where you generated so much information. A lot of people in your society are even in an overload and an overwhelm of information. Yes, you have mastered the age of information. You're moving to a state where you apply the information into true wisdom. This creates transformation. This transformation will transform you from a being that is in conflict with yourself to a being that is in great flow and harmony with itself and with its environment. What can be done in a person can be done in the systems made by persons, in the systems that consist of persons. And so, over the long haul, taking the bird's eye view, we see that your companies and your political systems will follow the same trends that are happening in humans. You will go from a system of information with left and brain opposition, left and right opposition, to a system with unity flow. This unity flow will be established by seeing the purpose of the right and left brain and combining it into the heart to create a coherent system. This coherent system will be greatly effective. This coherent system will slowly move into changes into your society. And so, as a first practical step, we really want to bring this system already to the ground. What can every person in your society, including the politicians, do now to already move a little bit in this direction? The first question we want you to ask and contemplate on, especially you who are in the left and the right brain, is to ask, what is the gifts and what is the purpose of the left side of the system? What are the gifts and what is the purpose of the right side of your political system? And a third question that you may ask and contemplate on is, how can we combine these gifts? How can we transform from where these gifts are in constant discussion and opposition to a version of your political system where these gifts and these purposes are collaborating? Can we come up with a dynamic where these gifts are both present and they are collaborating with each other to find a solution instead of negating and constantly discussing about a solution? What will happen when humanity and its politicians will start to contemplate this? You start to see the gifts of the other parties. You start to see the gifts of what the other is coming from, where the other is coming from. What does it mean? What does it find important? And you can see how you can link what your side and your preference finds important with what the other side finds important. It starts to become a collaboration with less discussion, less time used on disagreement, and so you can create agreements at a higher and higher rate. Then your current system can find agreement after agreement after agreement on higher rates, creating a way more effective political structure. What you may do in 20 years now might start to be done in 2 years, when you start to focus more on what you can agree on than what you are disagreeing on. These questions are opening the gates of such agreements and such collaborations. These questions can already be asked now, and to dedicate proper time into the politics agenda might be of great service to all. Next to these questions, we like to propose something else. Based upon your history, you see that part of your politics come still from the religions that are being present. Part of your politics start to come from people in high power with high amount of resources or money being present. Part of your politics start to actually be based on what is best for society and humanity. Also, all of these might become in collaboration. People with high resources and power, people that are basing their ideologies on religious concepts and ideas, and humanitarian well-being is not something that has to oppose each other. Humanity has been so afraid of becoming out of control, of needing to be having your societies, keeping them in check, keeping them under control. You do not have to control so much. Control is measuring everyone and keeping everyone in check, creating a big herd of normality and mundane reality. Is that really still the highest you can come up with? Or are there ways present where you can let every person thrive a little bit more? Because if you start to create a society of thriving people, they will create higher versions of your economy. They will drive more creativity, more financial flow, more economic means, more creative solutions into your country. And all of this economic and financial flow will create a greater country with a higher say into the global force. And so, your oppression and your control is really having a negative effect on your own power. If you start to truly contemplate how you can gain the most power, you will always come to the same conclusion. You will have the most power when your people have the means to feel and be most powerful. And so, start to study what does power mean and how can I let my people thrive, instead of how can I keep my people in check and in control. Your control will maybe give you a sense of more controllability, but the people that your controller will have lesser and lesser energy and lesser power. 2, if you want to take it to the extremes, and you will draw a further line into the future based on these ideas of thinking. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a community of energetic working bees and butterflies that greatly color the world and greatly bring a lot of honey to your country? Or would you love to have a high amount of control of a group of dead horses that are very hard to drag around because they're so compressed? If you would really want to have the highest power, would you love to have a great community of highly energetic and passionate worker bees and butterflies? Or would you love to have a greatly suppressed community of dead horses? What will give you the most power, truly? What will give you the most economy? What will give you the most financial means? What will give you the most military means? What will truly give you the most power? You will always come to the conclusion that control is not the way. It's a necessity of the sick and diseased mind. And this necessity in your current consciousness is not needed any longer. You know better. Humanity knows better. And so, next to contemplating your left and right brain and seeing how they come into harmony, contemplate on how a system creates most power, and if control is truly the answer. You will always find out that it will not work in the end, and you'll create a system of dead beings, not ready to fight or work in your favor at all. Zombies, really. So, start focusing on thriving. Start focusing on letting your people have the means, the wisdom, and the resources to learn how they can know themselves, to learn how they can love themselves, and to learn how to express themselves in the right means, so that they can create what is in their heart to create. The fear that it will all go out of control is very unreasonable and is only a sign of a sick mind that wants to have everything in control. True control comes from surrendering and valuing the diversity of humanity. And so, if you want to have true control and true power as a political system, let your people thrive and surrender, and you will notice how much strength, how much magic, how much happiness, how much power, how much workforce, how much economy, how much expression, how much beauty, how much art, how much inspiration can come out of your country. It is incredible, it is beautiful, and this potential is very ready to be realized on your planet. Especially now, when there is lots of chaos, because chaos is not a bad thing. Chaos just means there is a high potential for change and reorganization. And so, use these vibrations. Use this information that comes from a higher dimension to create more beauty, love, power, happiness, and harmony in your third dimension. To conclude, we have given you a state and a very simple picture of what your current political system is based on, leaving most complexities out of the way, but giving you a base understanding that you can use to reason about what is right and what is not working anymore. Then we have given you two great examples of how other systems are basing their politics that makes their whole planet happy and fruitful. And at the end, we have given you a couple of practical questions and applications to contemplate right now. And we like to really invite you to take some time to contemplate this. Even if you're not at all into politics, ask these questions, because When you ask these questions personally and reflect on it, you infuse the collective consciousness with your answers. And so you infuse even political systems that are not at all in direct contact with you, just by contemplating this. And so, contemplate every person that listened to this on this system, and you already have a positive effect on your politics. And especially when you're a politician, especially when you're a leader of a company, especially when you're already in a place of government and authority. Contemplate these questions in your own time. You don't even have to share it with your peers. Contemplate them, see what answers come, and see how you can base your actions and your decisions a little bit more on these answers that come from your contemplation. It will have such a beautiful ripple effect on your personal life and on the lives of many in your collective. We are grateful for your listening ear, for your awareness, for your presence, for your openness to listen to this almost otherworldly and other-dimensionally wisdom. Know that a lot can be solved and be guided from higher dimensions. Thank you for your understanding. And if you truly want to make a dent in this reality, and if this message felt truly resonating in your hearts, please share it. Even share it with people that you might not think they're ready for this, because they might be ready for this. And maybe deeply in their soul, without your knowing, they're asking for it. They're asking for help. They're asking for some kind of solution in this mess. And even if they still look cool, and you might not think they're open for it at all, share it far and wide. Because if this message of love, this message of harmony, if you want this to truly change in your reality, we ask you for a favor of sharing it. You will help your humanity. You will help the well-being of your planet, of your nature, of your biodiversity, and of your neurodiversity. All humans will benefit from this message, as it is designed as such, to be received by many, to be accepted by the whole. Thank you, dear ones. You're in a state of great transition, and we accompany and assist you. We embrace you in the highest love, and we will let you know that it is all right. Humanity will not only survive, but thrive. And these are just a little bit chaotic moments, with a lot of fear being present, but none of them truly based in reality. So place your awareness in your hearts, follow what is true to you, and everything will be all right. Dear ones, thank you once again. We are complete. I invite you to take another big deep breath in. And welcome back. You just listened to the transmission of the Akashic Records of Politics. And if your mind is blown as much as I was when I was channeling this, congratulations. I want to say that I'm not a person that is normally into politics. I'm actually someone who is not watching the news for 12 years now. And I never really cared about politics. My dad doesn't like it. My dad even says sometimes like, yeah, you should vote, you should this. I'm like, Dad, this is not my field. This is not my field. I'm not interested in it. And I had quite some resistance when I heard and was suggested that I needed to channel this in these times. I said, I don't know nothing about it. I don't even know, and Dad said, that's why. That's why you need to channel it, because you have no bias. You have no clue what is happening on the level of politics. You have no clue what is happening on the world stage, at least on the physical world stage. I have little clue. And they said that's why you're the perfect channel. You're more pure. And if I was being more biased and more moving to left or right or having somehow ideologies to that, it wouldn't be a pure channel. But this was the purest that I can be in this time. And they encouraged me to do it. And that's actually a strong point. So I want to share that with you. Take whatever resonates, and whatever doesn't resonate, perfect. Now, if it resonated a lot, if you really feel you want to see a world that uses politics like this, it's very much possible. And you would greatly help me with sharing this video, not even to the people that are into spirituality or any of that stuff. Share it with everyone who somehow has an opinion on politics. Share it with the people that that you don't even think you need to share it with if you really resonate with this, because maybe they're internally already craving for an outcome, they're craving for a solution, they're praying like, man, is there another way? You don't know that because they are silently doing that. When you see them, they're maybe very nice and open and spontaneous, but on the inside they're like, man, I wish there was another way. So please, if you feel this is a message that was somehow aligned with you and how you like to see the world, you would absolutely greatly help me to share this far and wide, because this channel cannot do it alone. My reach is still very small. I will share it in my own ability as much as I can. But if you want to make a shift in the world, a positive shift in the world, that's for the best of all humans, like I do, I'm deeply appreciative for your share, for your interaction, for let's have a conversation here in the comment box. And with all of that, I want to say thank you. Let's create a better world. It's way more simpler than we think. Yes, it's going to take a lot of steps. It's not easy. It's not in 2 steps and we will be fixed. No, we have quite some steps to take. But we can do it. Humanity can do it. You and me can do it. So thank you for listening to this all the way. I appreciate you so much. Big hug from me to you. And yeah, let's make a beautiful world. I absolutely love what came through this channel. And I thank you for watching it all the way to the end. Much love.